All right, welcome back to the Chasing Winners podcast, college football edition. Kyle Massaloni here with JP Lyon, as always. Interesting week last week. I feel like it always is when we have these weeks that we overlook, say, or mid. We end up with possibly the craziest game of the season and multiple teams getting upset. JP, how'd your week go?
Baylor did not get upset, so the weekend didn't take that sharp of a downturn. I was golfing for 6 hours on Saturday, so I missed most of the games. But I did have the foresight to put the first 45 minutes of Florida State Boston College on, so that was exciting. As far as the podcast, Kyle and I had identical weeks last week. We both went 7-8 overall, 3-3 on podcast picks, and we won our best bets.
I should
And the
have
parlay
added in there just to make us Jeff Fisher.
Oh yeah, we should have added the game. Yeah, and then the parlay is unfortunately now down money on the year, because North Texas is actually good at football. Who would have guessed? Would not have been me.
Not me at all. And you must be good at something too with that medal back there now.
Yeah, the 6-hour golf round actually led to a second place finish in our corporate challenge. We had two-man scrambles out there. I was by far the worst of our 4 people, but it's good enough for second place in division. And nice little addition to the background. We've got Sicko's committee poster, another football thing, fishing, Baylor, and now a medal over here.
But yeah, I mean, if you walk away with a medal, it's a successful weekend. 7-8, not really. You could count that as your win to get to 8-8 and be Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, 7-8 is not medal worthy, but I guess the golf is.
Exactly. So we could jump in here. We're actually to the games this week. It's a phenomenal slate this week. Big upgrade in quality of games from last week. I would say, even though I say that, but last week ended up being super exciting in the end with a Colorado game that lasted till 2:15 a.m. But
did you watch all of it?
Oh yes.
Oh, attaboy. I watched the last hour from bed and fell asleep for the second overtime. So I didn't see all of it, but every second before that I did. Did you have? I mean, normally we've been talking like the 8 people. I wanted to ask what your favorite upset from last week was, or near upset.
Well, my favorite near upset was Florida State almost losing. Like, of course it was. My favorite actual upset had to be Florida over Texas, because it's something where I got an edge over you on the podcast, so that's always nice.
Tennessee was not very good there, but they just for that, I'll put my favorite upset as Missouri over Kansas State because it gave me the edge, even though, as you saw earlier on the screen, I actually bet Kansas State.
Yeah, and I mean, Alabama almost going down was just so funny too for a while,
and Georgia.
It was all funny, but nobody actually ended up really going down except Kansas State and Tennessee, which is annoying. So 1-1 on the big upsets, both of us. But jumping into this week here, what everybody thought at the beginning of the year was going to be the ACC game of the year, was going to decide the conference, this and that. Do I think it's that this year? No, because I have thoughts about my own team winning the conference right now with how everybody's looking. But we got number 4 Florida State on the road at Memorial Stadium against Clemson, noon game on ABC. Rare to see the ACC take a big noon kickoff, but here we go. Florida State are 2.5-point favorites, and I really don't know what the hell this line is. If you've watched this season so far, besides for last week, I mean, Florida State, they dominated LSU, dominated Southern Miss, struggled in a trap game last week, the red bandana against BC. So this line really doesn't make much sense. We talked about it a little before the podcast. I said at the beginning of the year that Florida State is going to royally fuck this up. As much as I don't really like Clemson this year, as much as Cade Klubnik is not him, as much as they just don't have the weapons that they're used to, I really think this is the spot Florida State fucks it up. JP, what do you think?
Part of me wants to start justifying the line because of how they looked last week, and if they can give up 29 to BC, then why wouldn't they be able to do the same against Clemson in a game where the total is 56, 50, 55 and a half as of recording? I'm really torn on this pick. It doesn't help that the public is 83% Clemson, which falls exactly into your what is this line?
Florida State.
Yeah, Florida State. Thank you. 83% Florida State, and I haven't seen the line move yet. We are recording on Tuesday, so anything could happen. But yeah, it feels like Vegas is betting on Clemson. I've been getting hosed with Vegas bets this year, so I'm just going to ride with the better team. I'm going to take Florida State. Everyone knows they're the better team. Clemson home games don't mean what they used to. Dabo's a fraud. And Clemson isn't going to win another meaningful game until they play Miami.
Did you say until they play Miami? Oh man! Oh, you're brutal. They're gonna.
I take it back. That was a joke.
They're gonna come down to Miami and get their asses beat. That's gonna be Miami Notre Dame 2017 status.
Mm-hmm.
If Clemson wins this game and comes in and doesn't lose again, it may be college game day, prime time, all that. So
you're also banking on you guys not losing.
Well, yes. We have one difficult game before that.
Yeah, Florida State thought that too.
Florida State's not before Clemson.
Florida State thought they had one difficult game before Clemson, and they almost lost.
Yeah, you're correct. You're correct. I was about to say I think we're better than Florida State, and then I had to stop myself.
Oh my!
We need to prove ourselves a bit more first, but.
I'm on Florida State minus 2.5 because I don't think Clemson's very good. Go ahead and take Clemson.
And back on track, I'm on Clemson plus 2.5 because what the fuck is this line? I am dropping a lot of F-bombs today. Wow. It's just been that type of day. So up next here, I think we got the game the whole country has been waiting for. According to the viewership, I mean, everybody's watching this team play. They're breaking records at 10:30 at 2 a.m. I don't know how over 9 million people, 8 million people were still watching at the end of that game. Number 19, Colorado, without Travis Hunter, traveling to number 10 Oregon, 3:30 p.m. ABC. I said last week that Oregon would beat them by 3 touchdowns. The line is exactly 3 touchdowns. JP, what do you think?
I'm torn on games back to back here. It's going to be a lot easier for me in the next game, but no Travis Hunter is a big deal. especially considering how Colorado's offense looked for the majority of the game last week. Because they had 17 points through the first 3.5 quarters, if I remember correctly. And they had 14 after the first quarter. So they had 2.5 quarters, they had 3 points, and 7 points for the pick six, right? So that offense was not humming, especially not after Hunter went out. And it feels like if anybody has, the pass rush to make sure they're uncomfortable, then they're not going to be able to run the ball to deal with that, and they can't overcome that effectively, especially when you're playing a great offense. Colorado State didn't have a great offense, but obviously Oregon does. What I don't know that Oregon has is the defense, considering this total is 71.5, which if you take off 21 is 40, so their projected score is 51-20. Now I could see Oregon putting up 51 points, but if they do that, I don't think Colorado's held to 20. I think they're scoring more than that. And the public's slightly on Colorado, 62-38. But I don't know. It feels like last week was kind of a trap spot, even though they tried to play it up the whole week. But I have to take Colorado here. I don't really like it, but I can't take Oregon by 3 touchdowns against a team with that good of a quarterback. I don't think he has back-to-back weeks where he's that kind of unsettled.
By the way, I didn't want to interrupt you, but 51-20 is a 31-point spread.
41, no. Oh, no, I'm at pretzel. Oh, what happened? Hold on. 21. So it'd be, you got to interrupt me when my math's wrong. It'd be 46-25 for the record.
I mean, you're a math guy. I probably should have.
Yeah, you got to tell me. It's going to throw me off for the rest of the night.
But yeah, so 46-25 is the Vegas projected score, and I think I could see that happening. Last week, like I said, I came on this podcast and I said that I pretty much previewed my pick for this week. I said Colorado is going to lose by 3+ touchdowns next week. Vegas seems to think the same thing that I did. Losing, and that was when Colorado still had Travis Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have to go Oregon -21. I gotta stick with my guns here, especially at home at Oregon. I think they whoop them. I think America's gonna be very upset. I think this is a bad matchup for Colorado. Like I've been mentioning, I think that USC game will be much more up and down, but I think Oregon does have at least some semblance of a defense to put some pressure on them. And then that run game is 0.
So on Monday morning, you messaged me that this line might be getting just out of hand to the point where you take Colorado. It's not that out of hand anymore. It's 3 touchdowns is okay.
I said it's getting out of hand. If it got to 20, if it got to 23 or 24, if it kept moving, we might be talking something different. I loved 14.5 though. I was like before that Colorado State game when it was still 14.5, I was like, that might have been my best bet of the week. But at 21, I might be shaking my head a little bit. I might be a little more iffy about it. But give me Oregon. I'm ready for this to end. I'm ready for the Canes alumni to return to Miami as opposed to wearing Colorado stuff on their sideline. So I'm looking at Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson specifically. But yeah, give me Oregon -21. Let's end this.
Is that a tease that Oregon is not your best bet this week?
Oregon is not my best bet this week. They would have been if it was 14.
Good to know.
So just cross them out for now. We'll see when we get there.
We're gonna rule out one team every game.
Moving on here, 3:30 on Fox. We're sticking with the Pac-12. God, this conference is really good this year. And too bad it's the last year of its existence. Number 22 UCLA on the road against number 11 Utah. Utah are -4.5 favorites. JP, what are you thinking here?
If I remember correctly, I've been getting a lot of UCLA games wrong recently. No, I've just bet on them twice, and they covered once. They didn't cover the other time. Is Cam Rising playing?
That is a great question. Let me see. They played Weber State last week, and Cam Rising did not play. But why would he have to?
Yeah, he shouldn't have.
Cam Rising status. Cam
Questionable.
Rising's return to game at that's an old article. Where are we going? Cam Rising, what the hell? These are all old articles.
Yeah, there's a lot for the Weber State game I'm looking at.
All right,
I don't know.
Here's us going on full research mode in the middle of the podcast. Always great.
I mean, I'll talk through it. You can look it up while I do that. But if Cam Rising plays, I think the line will move more towards Utah than it is, rather than what we saw in week one, where week 1, where he didn't play, so the line moved towards Florida. I think the odds makers don't expect him to play, and if he does, it changes things. But I just think Utah's defense is too good for UCLA to hang with the entire game. 4.5 points doesn't seem like enough to where I start questioning whether UCLA can just put up enough points. I think Utah can lean on the ground game a little, but they're two quarterbacks that they've been playing that I saw a couple weeks ago. The one who can run the ball is really good at running the ball, not at passing, and the one who doesn't run the ball is decent at passing, and I think that's going to be enough to cover 4.5 when you have the defense that Utah does. It'll help if they can get away with PI in the end zone, but I don't know that they can count on that all game in every game. So I'm gonna take Utah -4.5. Public is 59% on Utah, and total's 51. I mean, 4.5 and a 51 total in college isn't bad. It's the second lowest total we'll talk about. I think you can guess what the lowest one is.
So the news from a Utah beat writer is that Cam Rising practiced today and did a great job, but they won't know anything, but they won't make a decision for the next 48 hours, and they won't make anything public before the game. But he looked good in practice.
Yeah, so I mean, if he plays, he probably doesn't run the ball as much. Maybe there's a scenario where they bring in that running quarterback for a little bit. Because somehow, even if you know he's going to run, you can't stop it. Or maybe that's just Baylor. But yeah, I think especially if Cam Rising plays, I really like this pick.
I don't think UCLA will be the team to necessarily stop it either, even though their defense hasn't necessarily been too bad this year, giving up 13 to Coastal, 10 to San Diego State, and then NC Central is what it is. But I'm on the same side as you. Utah -4.5 for pretty much all the same reasons. I mean, they're not an entirely different team from what we saw against Florida. their defense is still phenomenal. They've played 2 high-level opponents and gave up a combined 24 points to both of them. Yes, I just called Baylor high level. I can't believe I did that, but you're welcome. But yes, they played 2 Power 5 opponents, gave up a combined 14 points. I just don't know if UCLA is going to be able to hang with them. If Cam Rising's playing, this may be 10. This, I think, not the spread. I don't think it should be a 10+ spread. I think the game might end up being a 10+ point result for Utah. And God, I'm just looking at both of their future schedules. I'm like, the Pac-12 is a gauntlet this year.
Yeah.
Like Utah has Oregon State next week. I'm like, is this a look ahead game to Oregon State? Like, and then UCLA has Washington State and Oregon State back to back after this. It's just ridiculous, a ridiculous schedule. This may be the best conference in the country, which once again is absurd given that it's the last year of its existence. I clicked on a lot of things. All right, so up next we're sticking with 3:30 this time on CBS. A lot of games at 3:30 this week. A lot of games at 7. There's just a lot of good games this week in general. Another top 25 versus top 25 matchup. Number 15 Ole Miss versus on the road against number 13 Alabama. Alabama's a 7-point favorite. JP, Jalen Milroe's back this week. He's back starting. How much of a difference do you think that's going to make?
I think it has to make a huge difference. Just because his successors did not look very good last week, obviously. I don't know if do you subscribe to Pate's theory of the suspension last week and not actually just benching him?
I don't know if I subscribe to that theory. I think they just benched him and decided to see what the other options look like last week, and it wasn't very good. So I think we're back to Milroe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that does for the kid's confidence. If I got benched because I was bad and then I get put back in because my replacements were worse, I don't know that that really helps my psyche. I have a question for you about Ole Miss, Kyle.
Yep.
How many points do you think they scored in the last 2 fourth quarters they played?
Well, I know the last one was ridiculous. Was it? I'm not gonna look right now because they had the ridiculous backdoor last week. Was it like 24 points last week?
Mm-hmm. How many total points do you think they scored in the last 2 fourth quarters?
56.
Well, okay, not that. 44. No. 44 in the last 2 fourth quarters. They scored half their points against Georgia Tech in the fourth quarter. They scored over half their points in the fourth quarter against Tulane. They would have tied Tulane if they just did offense in the fourth quarter. They would have beaten Georgia Tech by 1 if they just did offense in the fourth quarter. So something's going on with Ole Miss, and I have to stop betting against them because it drives me up a wall to see Tulane +7 lose on a fumble 6 that means nothing, and Georgia Tech +17, +17.5, you had +18, all lose because they just go down the field and keep scoring, and they don't have any regard for us poor people who are betting against them. Now that being said, I swore to myself that I would stop betting against Ole Miss, but just when they're favorites, because now they're underdogs, and if they try to run up the score, then the other team will have something to say about that because they don't want to lose, right? Right? That makes sense in my head.
That makes sense. Perfect sense in my head.
So in the game where the total is 57, now I kind of like that over. Might have to take that. Total is 57. I'm going with 38% of the country, and I'm taking Alabama -7. It's a get-right game for them. I don't know who they play next week, but they have to get right now because even when you're in the SEC and you play a soft schedule, you can't afford to lose to Texas and then they have Mississippi State next week. Never mind, and then A&M, Arkansas. So they have a get-right 4 games before they play Tennessee, and Tennessee stinks now. Their schedule's pretty easy. Interesting. But I mean, they're Alabama. They can't really afford to have many off weeks in a row. They had 2. They can't let the dynasty slip away, or we're going to start. If they don't cover this week, I'm coming on next week and talk about how Saban is a fraud. We started with Dabo being a fraud. We're going Saban if he doesn't cover this week. So I'm on Alabama -7.
Oh my God. Nick Saban fraudulent? Did I just hear that?
This year. If he wasn't, they would have beat Texas.
And if he wasn't,
and I'm going to
cover against Ole Miss.
And I'm going to show you how fraudulent he is when Baylor beats Texas. No, never mind.
Stop. But JP, how will you be feeling about this if Alabama is up 17 going into the fourth quarter, knowing the patterns in recent time? I would not be feeling comfortable.
Well, they gave up 13 to Georgia Tech in the fourth quarter. So if they score 24 but give up 13, that'd be 11. Bama would win by 6. That would really bug me. So they got to be up. They got to be up 18.
Okay, yeah. Let's be up. Let's be up 20 going into the fourth quarter. Just make this safe. I think I kind of spoiled it there. I'm on the same side as you. Bama -7. I think it's a get right game for them. Jalen Milroe will make a difference. He's not good, but he's a hell of a lot better than what was out there last week. So, and this offensive line may not be as good as at least Josh Pate thought, but they're good enough in this case to put up some points on Ole Miss. So I like Bama -7 here.
Well, Notre Dame was really screwed, but with Tyler Buchner. There's a reason they had to go get Sam Hartman. It's because Buchner stunk.
Yes. And there's a reason Alabama went hard to try to get both Sam Hartman and Tyler Van Dyke and somehow struck out on both.
That doesn't make any sense. You guys must be paying Van Dyke under the table because there's no reason you should.
Well, yeah, we got him a trademark, right? We got him a trademark for Van Dynes
after week 1.
But yeah, I have no idea how we kept him over Bama, but I'm very happy about it. So moving on here, potentially I guess Bama Texas was, but the second non-conference game of the year. 7:30 NBC. Look at that. NBC finally has a good primetime game. Ohio State on the road at Notre Dame. Ohio State 3-point favorites on the road. Crazy. But JP, what do you think here about this big one?
Are you telling me you didn't enjoy the Syracuse-Purdue NBC game?
I absolutely loved the Syracuse-Purdue NBC game. I watched every second of it. It was my best bet.
And your pick for the parlay.
Yeah, and my pick for the parlay.
I told you I had Syracuse on my TV and I had every other game on my computer. I was respecting Syracuse.
Garrett Schrader's fake to close out that game will be one of the plays of the season. That was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew he had the ball. I don't think he even knew he had the ball.
So, and just to clarify after the last game, Alabama not your best bet.
Alabama not my best bet. You're just eliminating teams here.
That's what I said. We're eliminating a team.
I will say might have talked about will be my best bet.
Ooh, there's a tease. There's a tease. Sounds like it's Clemson. Okay, so Ohio State, Notre Dame. 55% of the country on Notre Dame. It dropped to 3 this afternoon before I put it in, or before I put the line down on the Excel. It was 3.5 before, and the total is 54.5. 54.5. Is Ohio State's quarterback any better? Like, he's getting better since Indiana, right?
Yes, they haven't really played much, but they put up 63 on Western Kentucky last week.
Okay.
He was 19 for 23 for 318 and three touchdowns. But once again, it was caveating it was Western Kentucky at home. He had a damn good game though.
Yeah, I think, and it's a tough pick, which is why it's 3-point spread and public's pretty split on it. I think I have to take Sam Hartman because he hasn't really let me down when I've taken him, and he's really hosed me when I picked against him. But I just think that offense is legit, and I appreciate that they're at home. That's a big factor as well. Night game in South Bend is going to be big. So we're going to roll with Notre Dame plus 3. What's their ranking?
They are number 9.
Number 9 against Ohio State is
6.
They
may move it. Notre Dame, if they win this game comfortably, could move into the top 5.
I would think they would. Because who's 5?
USC's 5.
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing every bad Pac-12 team so far. So,
but then, hey, if I'm right and Clemson beats Florida State, they could move ahead of Florida State.
Yep, that makes it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on Notre Dame plus 3. I think from now on, I'm just picking with Sam Hartman until he gives me a reason not to. So I'm taking who I think is the better quarterback in a game that's a 3-point spread, and he's also at home. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I just have it up here. Do you want to hear Sam Hartman's stat line this year?
Well, I know the first 2 weeks are insane. So, and week 0.
God,
so yeah, go ahead.
It is so efficient. Note that 16 attempts went to other guys in one of their games. So 64 for 90 for 1,061 yards and 0 interceptions, 13 touchdowns. Sam Hartman, who is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in college football coming into this year, when he was playing in the ACC, is now possibly one of the best quarterbacks in college football, no doubt.
Why didn't we go get him at Baylor?
Because Notre Dame went to get him.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I'm just not comfortable picking against that. Same thing as you. I can't believe I'm doing it. I can't believe I'm high on Notre Dame because I despise them. But I am super high on Notre Dame this year. I think this is the rare time where they actually aren't overrated and do have one of the best teams in the country. So I am going to go Notre Dame plus 3. Hold my nose while I do it because I hate the fact that I'm picking it. But yeah, I'm going Notre Dame plus 3 in this spot. Home game. That crowd's going to be nuts. Tough place to play. Yep. I'm talking myself more and more into it. Mm-hmm. But still
is this your best bet?
Still not my best bet this week. But it was somebody we already talked about.
We already talked. So you're saying it's not Iowa or Penn State. Little tease in our next game.
That may be what I'm saying as we get into 7:30 on CBS. same time as that Notre Dame Ohio State game. The whiteout got shafted this year. Um, going up against that. Iowa, number 24, Iowa, traveling to Penn State. Jesus, there's so many top 25 versus top 25 matchups this week that there's one we're actually not talking about, which is crazy. It's another Pac-12 one, Oregon State and Washington State.
Oh, yeah. Forget Washington State was ranked.
Yeah, number 24 Iowa on the road against Penn State. It is the whiteout game. JP, can you pick against Penn State during the whiteout game? I don't care what the spread is.
Do you care what the total is?
I see it's 40.
40 and a half.
Jesus.
So do you want to do the projected score on this one? Because I wrote down my math this time to check it.
Oh man, my math skills are not good. Would that be 26-12?
27-13, very close.
Yeah.
Yeah. 27-13 in the prime time CBS.
It's
game.
not a question.
No, it could happen. Iowa's offense royally screwed me last week when I was on Western Michigan. And they scored with 33 seconds left for no reason. And I should stop picking against Penn State because it hasn't worked once. I was on West Virginia. I was on Illinois last week, and each time they get very close but can't cover the spread.
Oh, that backdoor in week 1 was glorious.
And I literally wasn't thinking about West Virginia until I said it, and I have to change my pick to Penn State because I can't get backdoored like that again. I understand that James Franklin knows the spread and he's not betting on it, but he's going to screw me. So I have to take Penn State. And it doesn't make any sense. I wanted to take Iowa. I'm changing my pick. I have to root for the Penn State defense. I don't know.
He wants his alumni to make money. Like he wants his big donors to make money. Pennsylvania, I believe it's a legal betting state. The tri-state area is all legal betting states. There's a lot of Penn Staters here. He just wants his alumni to make money, man.
You know what else is a legal betting state?
Can't hate that. Where?
Iowa.
Well, yeah.
but it's not legal for Iowa State players. But that's a different story.
No, definitely not legal for the Iowa State team as we've seen. But yeah, like I mentioned from the top in the intro for this game, it's the whiteout game. Penn State has been one of the teams in a year of teams not handling business at the top, and in a year of teams struggling at the top, they have consistently handled business. Even last week in Illinois, where it looked rough for a little while, but then they managed to pull away and win by 17. But so yeah, I can't pick against them. Is it 3-0 against the spread so far? I wonder what the spread was for that Delaware game. It was Penn State minus 44. It's 3-0 against the spread this season. So yeah, I'm not picking against that. James Franklin loves covering. Give me 4-0. Give me Penn State minus 14.
The public is actually on Iowa. 58% on Iowa to cover.
Is the public aware that this is a whiteout game?
I don't think they're aware that James Franklin's just going to cover the spread himself.
He's going to go out of his way and call plays specifically to cover the spread.
There's going to be 10 seconds left. They're going to have the ball at the Iowa 40, and they're going to kick a field goal like the Rams did to try and cover the spread.
Throw a Hail Mary to cover the spread.
Yeah, for the record, Sean McVay needs to be investigated. That was criminal.
I forgot there was a team in the ACC that did that a few years back too. That was hilarious. I think it was Duke. Duke
Really?
kicked a field goal down 10 with down 10 with a buzzer beating field goal to
Was it
lose
against UNC?
or the spread.
Was it against UNC?
I think it might have been.
I think I remember that. I think I was on UNC.
I think that was like when we first started doing this contest, and we might have been
Yeah.
on the same side.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 years ago. That's
Yeah.
upsetting.
I think James Franklin would do the same thing if Duty called and the
Oh,
spread.
he'd have to, yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard to pick against a guy that's that adamant on covering. So moving on here. So best bets of the week. JP, I'm gonna throw it off to you first because you've been teasing all podcast about my best bet. So we might as well just keep the suspense going.
We're just gonna throw it at the very end. Maybe we won't even get to it, but no, I have to even look up who they're playing again. I forgot. My best bet. Oh yeah, my best bet is a team that was really bad last week, like very surprisingly bad. Kind of a dark horse to make the Big 12 championship and do pretty well this year. But they're going into Iowa State this weekend as 3.5-point underdogs. And I don't know if you know, Kyle, Iowa State lost to Ohio this weekend.
Yeah,
Straight up.
The Big 12 is very bad.
Hey.
Like shockingly bad.
The bottom of the Big 12 is very bad. The top and middle are fine. We're gonna be fine.
Yeah, the top is good, but the top is leaving next year.
Shh, we get Colorado and Utah. They're gonna replace them. We're gonna be fine.
Oh, you're right, actually. So yeah, the Pac-12 teams will replace them.
Yeah, that's why it's fine that the Pac-12 is good this year because they're going to join us. We also get two teams that aren't very good, but that's what you get with the 4 corners. I'm taking Oklahoma State plus 3.5 this week. I hate it because it's not. It feels like it has to be a get-right game for both teams, and Oklahoma State looked far worse against South Alabama than Iowa State did against Ohio. But I don't know. Iowa State's not good, and they've been not good all year. And I have no reason to bet against them or bet with them. And, I know if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. But if you have 3 quarterbacks, then maybe you have 1. Right? Just any odd number of quarterbacks equals 1.
Maybe you have 3 in that case.
You could. I don't think so. I don't know if you watched the game last week. They don't have 3. I think Gundy should just play his kid until he's 40, and he can say he's a man. He's 40, and then he should leave. But yeah, my best bet: Oklahoma State plus 3.5. Not doing a mid podcast switch like I did last week, even though that worked out for me. So if I lose this week, then I think I'll do that next week. Just make a pick before and then change it right before I get it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. But now to the best bet that you've been teasing all show for some reason. It is a team we talked about today, but it is not a team in one of the Big 6 games we talked about. I mentioned Penn State handling business and being 3-0 against the spread. Do you know who else is handling business and is 3-0 against the spread?
Not Texas. They're going to be 1-3 against the spread after they play us.
It is the Syracuse Orange. They are 3-0 against the spread, 65-0 against a 44-point spread against Colgate. 48-7 week 2, spread was 24.5. 35-20 away on the road, a primetime game against Purdue. They're the first sellout in their stadium in years. And Syracuse comes in and beats them by 15. That spread closed at 1 somehow. So they're not only beating spreads, they're dominating spreads consistently. This week, you're giving me 13.5 against Army at home. How can I not take that? I'm Syracuse minus 13.5. It looks like it might have moved to 14, but I'm still taking it because they cover spreads by 2 touchdowns anyways. So yeah, Syracuse minus 14. Some stats for them this year are ridiculous. They're one of the few teams that are top. I think they were one of 2 last week. I'm not sure. It might be one of 1 at this point. I'm not sure. That are top 10 in the country in both points for and points against. It's crazy. They're actually a good football team. I'm shocked. So I'm gonna keep riding them until the line corrects itself, which might be next week against Clemson. I'm going Syracuse minus 14.
Are you excited to go into 2 straight Clemson games and say, what is this line?
Yeah. Hell, if Clemson looks bad, it might be what is this line in the opposite direction, and why are Syracuse underdogs?
I can't wait. I am very happy that I teased this best bet the entire time. It was the most anticlimactic. Yeah, I'm going to take the team from last week.
Hey, but I built it up with some stats behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to build it up with as much of a climax as I possibly can. People probably groaned and tuned out when I said the Syracuse orange.
Yeah, just I do appreciate. And before we get to the parlay, last week we could have summarized the best bets section with our dads went there.
Yeah. I could still do that again for one more week.
I don't want to take Nebraska this week though. I don't. Louisiana Tech on a get-right game. I don't love that.
And then now for the podcast parlay, JP, what's your leg?
So I was looking at a couple different teams here. If we ever choose underdogs, we will have to add the podcast teaser, which doesn't sound as good, but it will look good when I spell it how I want to. So that's a tease, huh? See, tease. That's a tease for next week. Maybe the week after, you don't know. But I was looking at Utah money line, because I do like that. I was looking at a team that Kyle's going to take, and so I really like the parlay this week. But I'm looking at Kansas. And they are 9-point favorites against BYU. BYU coming in off of a big win against Arkansas. So it definitely feels like a deflate spot for them. Kansas coming in, they beat Illinois a couple weeks ago. I have no idea what they did last week because in a week of mediocre games, that was not one that was even mediocre. Unless I did bet on it. No, I didn't. We're good. But I don't know. I think Jalen Daniels, right? Jalen Daniels, not Jaden Daniels. That's the fraud LSU quarterback. He's not a fraud. The team that's a different story. We'll talk about that in the future, I'm sure. We'll be back. No, I'm taking Kansas at home. 9-point favorites, but just the money line, and then when you pair it with Kyle's, I think I like the parlay this week.
Yeah, so my pick for the parlay is the ultimate letdown spot. Colorado State played their Super Bowl last week. Colorado State played in front of more viewers than they will ever play in front of most of those guys in their lives. I don't know how many NFL prospects they have. So that was and it was definitely a huge letdown for them, ending up losing that game in double overtime after delivering possibly the most exciting, what will end up being the most exciting game of the season. Now they're on the road against Middle Tennessee State, or Middle Tennessee, sorry, not Middle Tennessee State. I have history with this team, but we don't need to talk about last year. But yeah, so Middle Tennessee, that loss against Missouri, not looking too bad anymore. Lost by 4 to Missouri on the road 2 weeks ago. But it's more so in this case just the letdown spot here. They're 3-point favorites, but Middle Tennessee are 3-point favorites. But once again, we're throwing the 2 money lines together. And JP, what does that equal out to odds wise?
It equals out to plus 116, as you can see on the screen now.
So plus money. Let's go. Even with
always plus money for the podcast parlay. And for those keeping track at home, we did manage to talk Middle Tennessee football each week of the podcast so far this year. We've done it every single week. Somewhere in passing, a couple times it was about Miami. Congrats to Middle Tennessee for remaining in the all-important Chasing Winners College Football podcast. If they cover this week, they might be the podcast's official team. Between
No. they still live rent free in my head.
They can share it with Texas State. How's that?
Fine. they still live rent free in my head though. So I don't, me talking about them every week is almost out of spite.
I brought them up most of the time, to be fair. Texas State lost 2 weeks ago. They're not undefeated anymore. Oof. I guess UTSA would also beat us. That's disappointing.
Yeah, that could happen. But yeah, I'm actually going to a game this week on the road.
Oh, really? Yeah. It's a home game for you.
Yeah, it's essentially a home game for me because it's a 2.5-hour drive. Miami are playing Temple in Philly. There's going to be like nobody at Lincoln Financial Field. It's going to be great. I could sit wherever I want. Supposedly people go to Temple games, potentially even less than they go to bad Miami games. So I'll happily take that. Not really, but I'll be at the game. 23-point favorites Miami are. It's also the Manny Diaz and Al Golden revenge game. They technically gave us both. Two of our worst coaches of all time. So we're out for blood.
It's not the typical like Manny Diaz going back to coach against the team that he coached for. It's you're mad that they gave you the coach.
Yes, I'm mad more so about Al Golden because we were going to take Manny Diaz anyways, but they gave us Al Golden, which put our program back many years. The white shirt, orange tie on the sideline. People wore that as a Halloween costume with a help wanted sign my freshman year when he got fired. So yeah, it's a revenge game for that reason. It's a revenge game for alumni, not for the players or coaches whatsoever. So they don't care, but we do. So
well, that's exciting. You have fun there. I don't have very fond memories of Lincoln Financial, but that's from the game that we watched or that I watched while we recorded last week, and the one a year ago. But Vikings don't play there very well.
I don't like that stadium either. I would never go there for a Giants game because I would get killed. But
yeah, but I will not be in attendance due to my previous ruling. That sounds like I'm legally barred from going due to my moral code of not going to any more Baylor games this year. But I will be playing softball. I have 2 softball games on Saturday, 2:00 and 3:00. And thank God the football gods decided to put the Baylor game at 6:30 so I could watch it anyway. Yay! But I will miss Colorado, Oregon, and there's like 3 2:30 games there that are 3:30 for Eastern, whatever. That I'll miss the first half of all those games, so that's not really what I wanted. But yay, I get to watch Texas Baylor.
Oh man. At least it's a home game, so maybe you have a chance.
We've played all 3 of our games this season at home.
And you're 1-2. Oh,
yeah.
Jesus. Hey,
and the one win was against Long Island. Did you see the throw that's been going around Twitter? The Long Island quarterback who threw the ball like this, and he threw it 40 yards down the field for a completion. And he was left-handed. It was down here, and it'll go, whoo.
Oh,
I'm still mad they scored a touchdown in that game.
Yeah, 30-7. Not as pretty as I thought it was going to be there.
I told you to try and talk me out of Long Island plus 45, and then it went to 45.5, and I was like, Long Island's the play, and they were the play.
I actually told you Long Island was the play.
Yeah,
too.
You did, and I tried to ask everybody. No one would talk me out of it, so I bet it.
Hey, at least
I should have put a lot more on it.
At least you won somewhere. Well, you won the game too, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so big week coming up this week. Definitely like, share, subscribe, do the thing. I remembered. That's beautiful.
You remembered. Did you see Kyle last week when I added the real YouTuber subscribe thing, and we don't just have a giant red box floating over our heads anymore?
Yeah, it's beautiful. How'd you do that?
It's a feature when you upload the thing. It's always been there. I just didn't know where it was.
All right, so we figured it out now. We look a tad more professional, I guess that means, out of our, at least my apartment bedroom, probably yours too, or
dining room.
Dining room, nice. A little more professional than mine. But yeah, so everybody enjoy the games this week. We have a stacked slate. Like I said, there's even a top 25 matchup we didn't fit into the best 6 games. That's how good this slate is this week. So everybody enjoy. I'll be at Temple watching us kick the shit out of them. So yeah, I said it 3 times at this point trying to close out, but enjoy the games.